Welcome to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share on any platform that you're listening on. All right, welcome back to another episode. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Follow us on any platform that you're listening to. It really does help us a lot, especially with the algorithms on the podcast platforms, because every time someone follows us, it does boost us up the ranks a little bit, so we're easier to find. Same thing with YouTube as well. Thank you to Cheers and Spirits and the Arnold Station Plaza for sponsoring yet another show. At this point, they're a show sponsor. I don't want to say they're sponsoring a single episode. They're a sponsor of the show.
Like the official liquor store of Driveway Beers podcast right now.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's what they are. Which, speaking of whiskey, we are trying a new one tonight. It is from the Ragged Branch Distillery. It says a Virginia Straight Bourbon Whiskey. I get confused when they put the words bourbon and whiskey on it. I mean, I get all bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbon. I get that. But if it's a bourbon, can we just put bourbon on the label, please?
I don't know.
I mean, help a brother out. That's all I'm saying. It is a 90 proof. This is a specific bottle, though. So, let's see. It says this is batch number 16, bottle number 1503. 45% alcohol by volume, 90 proof. It's about a $50 bottle. So it's not on the cheaper end.
It's high. It's high end for us, for our age.
It is. I guess it can't be considered a bourbon because it's made in Virginia, but I don't know.
I think they stopped doing that though.
Did they? All right. The story I got was that the distiller of Ragged Branch cut his teeth at Willet, and Willet's a pretty high-end brand. So I've got high expectations for this, and I hope it doesn't disappoint. It looks very nice. It smelled fairly sweet, but it definitely had a strong alcohol smell to it. As we taste it, we'll let you know what we think of it. Mike's going to drink it neat. Yeah. So 90 proof, that's generally in his neat wheelhouse.
Yeah, and what I've had so far, I like it. One of the problems, though, is I have, I don't know if anyone can hear it, I'm a bit congested. So, from what I can taste of it, tastes good. But the heat or whatever, the spiciness of it is all, right, just easy for me to drink neat. So, I'm enjoying it.
I'm taking my second sip of it now. I still don't know.
Okay.
I still don't know. I'll take another sip later on. Speaking of your congestedness, I wonder if it still has something to do with our good friends to the north who have the Canadian wildfires.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we have to explain this a little bit. Why would Canadian wildfires be causing congestion down here in Maryland? Because for some reason, and I don't know why, the air, the atmosphere burnt, I don't even know what you call it at this point, but basically all the burnt ash and soot and whatever is coming down from, I think it's Halifax and Ontario.
In Quebec.
And it's coming down, and it's come down the east coast of the United States for some reason.
So, yeah, I just saw why today. So what it is, there's a low-pressure system over the Canadian maritime provinces that is turning I guess it turns in a counterclockwise direction.
Okay.
So the wind that's coming off of that thing is blowing
south
or southeast.
Yep.
Which is pretty much here. Now, the worst areas that are getting it is like New York. Now, Lindsay sent me a picture of the George Washington Bridge.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, you can barely see it. Everything's yellow.
It's apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here, like when I was coming back back east side, across the Seven River. I looked north. And normally you could see like pretty much all the way up the river. Like you couldn't.
Yeah.
And then I looked south. You could see like Hospital Point in Annapolis, but that was about it. Like you couldn't see any ships out there in the bay. Like you couldn't see anything. So, yeah, I don't know if it has anything to do with that or not.
Because normally with the jet stream, this would just go out to the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This thing is, it depends on which way it's pushing the jet stream. And for this time of year, it's pretty cool here.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, the highs are in the 70s, which is weird for, normally we're starting to get mid-80s, you know, high 80s this time of year, and it's cooler.
I heard this was supposed to be an unusually hot summer, and we just haven't gotten there yet.
No.
Now, maybe we're just going to get killed in July and August, but, I mean, right now, though, this is probably I feel like this is one of the mildest Junes we've had in a while. We had, like, that 1 or 2 days in the 90s, but that's it.
Yeah, like last Friday was pretty warm.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been, you know, my AC is on at home, but it's not running hard.
No, my utility bill, well, I guess I won't find out until next month's bill, because I just got my bill. My utility bill is the lowest it's been in, like, probably 6 months.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And May was relatively cool.
Yeah.
And kind of wet, so.
I ran my heat more than my air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. We probably thought we had more to talk about with the Canadian issue.
Yeah, I mean, we can make fun of people. You know, the masks came back out.
Actually, believe it or not, look, I'm going to take the L on this one.
Did you have a mask on?
I sent the kids into the school this morning with the mask on. The funny part was, though, I told them to wear it outside and take it off when they got inside. Rather than like during COVID where they didn't wear it outside, but they wore it inside.
Does it do anything?
I think it just filters whatever's in the air. At that point, you're filtering the soot and stuff from going in your lungs. Because the air quality index, whatever that is code red right now for us. So,
but you'll get code red days in the summer when, you know, they'll say like, oh, when it's like super humid.
Yeah.
Like don't run your lawnmower and any 2-stroke engines and stuff because it puts more. I don't know.
Yeah, but it was enough to close down the softball and baseball fields for us.
Yeah. They wouldn't have done that when we were kids.
You don't think?
No, we would have smoked a pack of cigarettes and gone and played football in it.
Right. The kids would have been smoking the cigarettes too. Yeah. We would have. Speaking of baseball and softball, because I think we kind of kicked the Canadian pig at this point. The Canadian bacon, if you will, which is
just ham.
Ham, yeah. I had a Canadian roommate in college.
Uh-huh.
He was played some lacrosse with us in college, and I was such a dummy. I literally asked him. I said, "What's Canadian bacon?" I go, "Is it ham?" And he goes, "Well, what do you call?" And we had ham in the house. He's like, "Well, what do you call this?" I said, "It's ham."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What do you call it?" He goes, "Ham." And then what's Canadian bacon? And he said, "Well, we have bacon." I said, "Is it like our bacon?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, so, like I looked at him like he must have thought I was the dumbest person on earth, and I'm just like, so you have ham and bacon, but you don't have anything called Canadian bacon? He goes, "No, that's ham." And I'm like, I've been sold a lie my entire life.
Yeah.
Like I grew up near not near the Canadian border, but I was like 6 hours from Montreal,
mm-hmm.
and I was probably 8 hours from Toronto, not Toronto, Niagara Falls. So like I'd been calling it Canadian bacon my whole life, but that day I learned that apparently there's no such Canadian bacon is just ham in Canada.
Yeah.
Which so why we call it Canadian bacon, I have no idea.
I don't know. Now, there's another breakfast meat, pork roll. I love pork roll.
I'm intrigued. Explain.
I mean, it kind of looks like bologna.
Okay.
So it's like if ham and bologna had like a baby, it would be kind of be like that. It's thick. It's thicker.
Sure, it's not just bologna though.
No, it's not. It's pork roll. It's different. You can buy it like Green Valley has it.
I mean, I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, because now I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
Although I will say this.
Like a pork roll and egg sandwich. Mm.
I I bought bologna for the first time the other day because I was getting like a little nostalgia. Mm-hmm. And I had bologna growing up all the time.
Oh, me too, because we were poor.
Yeah. We weren't poor, but we were like so the funny thing, my mom grew up not rich. I mean, I don't think they were poor.
Yeah.
But they were in rural Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was a metal worker. My grandmother was a teacher.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a ton of money, right? But they owned a house, they owned a plot of land, and that's where the girl, my mom and her two sisters grew up. But there were, fried bologna days, right? Mm. So when obviously my mother was raising me with my dad, and then my dad didn't grow up with a lot of money either. So fried bologna was like a thing.
Oh, fried bologna's the bomb.
Yeah. So I'm like, I want some bologna. Now, my wife doesn't eat mystery meat because that's pretty much what kind of like bologna's basically ground up.
It's lips and assholes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's
so
whatever's
a hot
left.
Dog.
Yeah, whatever's left smashed together. Yeah. I think it's delicious. However, when I grew up, I ate mostly like the prepackaged Oscar Mayer bologna, right? And so I was like, I'm older now. I'm more sophisticated. I'm going to get deli counter bologna. I got, Dietz and Watson bologna. Man, it tastes like shit. I think I have to go back to Oscar Mayer prepackaged bologna.
Yeah, or go find a place that has Boar's Head.
I feel like but Dietz and Watson's supposed to be like on the level of Boar's Head.
Yeah, I don't elevate it to that standard.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think I'm going to go to another place, and I think I'm going to get the Boar's Head bologna.
Because Grawl's has Boar's Head, and so does Giant.
So I think I'm going to have to mosey on over.
Yeah.
And give it a try, because like I really don't want my last taste of bologna to taste like I tasted it.
Yeah.
It was kind of gritty. I'm like, ooh.
Did you was it because there's beef bologna, then there's different kinds of bologna?
I didn't know enough to ask when I went up to I was like, I just want Dietz and Watson bologna. Like that's what I asked for, like a half a pound of it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know there were multiple types of bologna. Like I wasn't that bougie back then. Yeah. Like I just knew bologna was bologna.
So one of my favorites is a fried bologna sandwich with onions, with fried onions, or sautéed onions, not like a onion ring, but like
sure,
and mustard.
I mean, that's essentially a liver and onion sandwich.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm a little lazy, so I don't do the fried onions. Mm-hmm. I tend to just go bologna on bread with mustard. Mm-hmm. Maybe some cheese if I'm feeling uppity. But for me, it's like 2-3 pieces of bologna, throw it on some sandwich bread, mustard.
And it's one of the few situations where I'll eat white bread, not toasted.
So now though, because I've kind of sworn off the bread, like I am still actively not trying to eat bread. So I just rolled up the bologna with a piece of cheese.
Okay.
I'll do like I put the mustard on the cheese and I roll it up, and I was just like, this is the worst bologna I've ever had.
Are you frying said bologna or?
I didn't fry it. I ate it just cold.
Yeah.
Because that's how I remember it as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. So I was going for the nostalgia straight off, and man, did I disappoint myself. Yeah. I should not have bought the bougie bologna, and so I'm going to go with the Boar's Head. I'm going to try to go bougie bologna one more time, and if that doesn't work,
just going back to the package.
I'm going package Oscar Mayer bologna. Yeah, my bologna is a first name. I'm bringing that back. So. Don't know how we got there, but we were talking about. I thought we were talking about kids baseball, weren't we?
You had a great segue, and then somehow we got into bologna.
God, I ruined a segue.
Yeah,
I'm not good at them, so like I feel like
when you have a good one,
I should have held on to it. So anyway, playoff time. Oh, that's how we were talking about the Canadian wildfires canceled.
Yes.
So it canceled some softball practice for our last playoff game. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, it's the consolation bracket, but it's still the championship of the consolation bracket, which some would call the winner of the losers, right?
Okay.
They still get a trophy, though. Whatever. I don't care. It's still winning a tournament at that point. It should get something.
Yeah.
Because you got 3 wins together.
Everyone said, "Oh, this is the participation trophy." The third place in the Olympics gets a medal.
Yeah. Well, at least in this case, I mean, they had to win 3 games in a row to win it. You still won a tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were just playing in the proper division at this time. We barely missed the championship division. I think we lost by 1 win. You win 1 more game, we were in, but we didn't. Anyway, okay. So the Canadian Wildfires shut down the practice 4th said game. We were able to get in the 2nd playoff game yesterday. We have talked about baseball dads before, but I am now thinking that softball dad might be taking the cake as far as unsportsmanlike behavior a little bit. So here's the situation we had. We're in the 3rd inning. We're down by, I want to say we're down by 4. We're down by a good amount. They brought in their best pitcher, or so they thought. This girl was super pumped up, like just really oddly intense for a 10-year-old girl. Whatever. She throws a couple balls, get called balls. She throws one, called strike. She literally starts to dance toward the pitcher or toward the batter.
So she's 3-1 in the count, and she's like,
yeah. She I don't think you'd call it a gritty, but there was definitely a like a shoulder shimmy going on, and I see this and I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
That's what you're like on the next pitch. You're just like, hit a bomb, hit a bomb, hit a bomb.
Well, so I don't know if I have my order right. So my daughter comes up to bat, and this girl was getting balls over the plate, which is somewhat a rarity at 10U.
So she's still 10U.
Yeah, this is her last year. She's turning 11 in June.
Okay.
But your play date or your play age is what you were December 31st before the season started.
So softball's different than baseball then.
Baseball, you guys use a different one. We have to use the U.S. softball.
Okay.
Aging.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I forget who I was talking. It might be someone on your team. Didn't want to play because a bunch of her friends stayed down, and she wanted to stay with, but she ended up playing anyway.
Yeah. So the way it works is on August 15th, all the girls age up.
Okay.
And your new age is whatever your age will be on December 31st of that year.
Okay.
So you could be a 10-year-old on August 15th.
With a November birthday, you're going up?
Correct.
Okay.
Because if you turn 11 by then, that's what you're going to be as of August 15th. Which makes it a little difficult for summer ball stuff because you basically have to do all your tournaments before the end of July.
Yeah.
Or first week of August. But back to our scenario first. We'll get to that in a minute. So this girl doing her little dance, whatever. My daughter gets up. Now, my kid hits fairly well. Mm-hmm. She's a little stiff at the plate, but she makes really good contact. Mm-hmm. Or she walks. She very rarely strikes out. She's gone a couple games without striking out, and then she'll strike out once, but then she won't strike out twice in a game. So she either hits the stuffing out of it, or she walks. She only swings at certain pitches. Mm-hmm. And it's gone well for her for the most part. So she gets up, and this girl's pitching, and she throws one right in there, about letters high. Uh-huh. My daughter steps into it, blasts it to left field.
Good.
Gets a triple, clears the bases, and I let loose. I wasn't I was just cheering my buns off, in general. I wasn't directing it at the pitcher,
right?
But my kid did something good.
Yeah. And
I don't know why I get a little stressed out while the game's going on. So it's all of a sudden the stress releases, and I'm like, yeah. But I don't go over the top. I'm not that guy. But there was a little bit of extra good feeling that she was trying to dance when she threw a strike to one of my daughter's teammates. Mm-hmm. And then my daughter steps up and this girl's like got her little swagger going on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's smacking a triple out in left field.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, suck on that. But the weird thing is, though, during this game, and I didn't realize what was going on, but this girl's dad, like, you could see where she got her attitude from. She had one of the worst attitudes. I'll give you a couple more examples in a minute. But, like, this umpire had a really low strike zone. Like, the strike zone was pretty much belly button to, like, the ankles.
Yeah.
Like, real low. Like, it's usually shins, but, like, even if, like, the ball bounced to the catcher, if it went over the plate, like, at the shoelaces, it was being called a strike.
Wow. He wasn't playing golf.
Like, the thing is, normally I would say, oh, this is horrible, this is bad, but he was consistent for both teams. So, the same strike for us was the same strike for them. It was a very consistent strike zone. I can't fault the guy for that.
Yeah.
Because, I think if you talk to anyone in baseball and softball, all you ask is that the umpire is consistent with the strike zone.
Yeah.
And after the second inning, the players can't complain because they've all seen it once.
Yep.
All right. So.
And the strike zone's not a rhombus.
Sure. Yeah. So apparently this pitcher's dad was a coach on the other team. And every time one of these strikes was called, or wasn't called, because if he thought it was a strike and it wasn't called, or there was a low strike called, he'd throw his arms up in disgust, give the look of like, oh, what are you doing, man? And he would literally walk into the dugout complaining. And it's like, okay, now I see why she acts the way she acts. Because she's literally mimicking her dad. Arms flailed out. Like when bad things happen, this girl, her arms would flail out. She'd give the, oh, what are you talking about? Like, it was identical. And I'll give you another example. This is what so one of our batters hit like a little dribbler up the third baseline, or maybe it was right. It was kind of close to her, whatever it was. Well, yeah, I'm going to kind of tell my wife a little bit here. My wife was the third base coach. Sent our runner from third home. Didn't have to. First base was empty.
Yeah.
Could just let it go. But she sent her. Mm-hmm. This pitcher picks up the ball, runs down our runner, and pushes her, like hits her with the glove and the ball, which is normally fine, but it was a little bit harsh. But she drops the ball, and our player touches home plate, and the umpire goes safe, as he should.
Yeah. This
girl, her immediate reaction was to throw her hands out, look over at her dad, like, oh, like the what the F face.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our girls are still running the bases because in softball the play doesn't stop until the pitcher has the ball inside the pitcher circle.
Yeah.
And so they're literally yelling at this girl, pick up the ball, you have to go in the pitcher circle. So she finally does. Meanwhile, so now she's got runners on second and third because she didn't pick up the ball and go back. She could have had first and second at that time. Later in the inning, well, the next inning, because she got out of the inning, well, she gave up 5 runs, inning's over.
Yeah.
So for all her dancing and showboating and all this other stuff, she let up the maximum amount of runs.
Because he run ruled, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the next inning, same situation kind of happens. There's a little bit of a dribble over near the pitcher. She picks it up. Now she comes over and she pretty much like Sean Taylor's the girl. like knocks her out of the base path toward the backstop, or toward like the third baseline fence. But she drops the ball again, but the ump doesn't see it. Calls our girl out. Fine, whatever. But for whatever reason, now she's doing like the like you're 10 years old and you literally just had to tackle a girl.
Yeah.
Because you can't control your emotions from the prior inning. And I'm literally looking at her dad. It's a mirror image.
Yep.
Like, he is tournament dad in rec ball. I was like, yo, dude, you got to look at what you're teaching your kid. Your kids will mimic you 100% of the time. Yeah. And she mimicked him every single time. Now, the funny part was, I think the mother was on the other side, on the bleachers, yelling at her daughter for doing it. Like, the mother was keeping her in check.
Yeah.
The father was encouraging it. Which, of course, so after, like, after the few runs scored on her, or actually, it was after the missed tag at home, they had to literally go out and talk to her, and she's crying about it. Like, this is how emotional she's getting over this.
Wow.
And don't get me wrong, at 10U, emotions are the
all over the
hormonies.
place.
The hormonies are coming.
Yeah.
Like, we're a year or two away from just hormone central blowing up.
Yeah. From when you take up residence in the basement.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. When I permanently move here, I need to get that bathroom down here quick. But like, she just lost it. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong though, like I've seen it when the girls are doing bad and they feel like they're letting their team down. You get some waterworks.
Yeah.
But this was not that. She was pissed off at the umpire for not calling the girl out, even though she dropped the ball.
Right.
She was like, I held on to it long enough.
And here's the thing. Had she probably just run up to her and tagged her with it like she should have, it would have been an out.
Probably.
But because you had to get all stupid and, like, you're like you're playing football. Mm-hmm. You can't hold on to the ball, so you dropped it because you're being a dope.
Yeah.
And dad, coach, if he's going to get upset about anything, should have been like, what are you doing? Make the tag, be done with it. It is your, like, don't get mad at the umpire because you're a dope. Like, you're the one that did it.
Well, the problem is, though, is he's getting pissed off at the umpire for making the calls. Mm-hmm. She sees this. So like, every time he gets all pissy and moany like a little itch, she sees this. Mm-hmm. So now she's getting pissed off at the umpire. Yeah, she's mimicking what he's doing. And the funny part is like we're seeing this more and more in the rec ball. I mean, I told you, I think we talked about this a few years ago, where I think it was my oldest again. She was playing a team from another town because we move around and we play team. It's not a travel team. It's all part of the county rec league or whatever. But this one girl, like, she hit a ball. She ran it first when I think, I don't know if the next girl walked or whatever, but she was going to second. She did like what is it? A cartwheel and like not a roundhouse, front flip, back flip, one of those things. Like she on her way to second base.
Oh,
does it again on the way to third. Now on her way home, flips the helmet, does like 3 somersaults, or three front handsprings, like whatever the one where you put your hands down and then flip your feet over, like just like the.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what any of that shit is. Yeah. But basically, the front handsprings.
She looks like she was doing a floor routine.
Yes, it's exactly what it was.
It would have been funny if when she flipped the helmet off, the umpire was like, "You're out from removing your helmet."
Yes, I'm like, you know what? If no one's going to teach her the lesson, and her parent, you could hear her parents cheering it on. It's like, stop being your kid's buddy. You're their parent. Teach them that bullshit doesn't fly.
Well, it's like have some respect for your opponent. Have some respect for your game. We've been pretty lucky this year the youngest is doing T-ball, so that doesn't really matter. Because they're not keeping score. It's all about cuteness and fun.
Sure. Uniforms are too big.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the fun stuff.
The middle is doing his first year of coach pitch. It's actually his own kid coach hybrid. It's actually the only year they do that. Oh, no umpires. So it's still kind of fun, but, there's it's not too much obnoxiousness. The oldest, though, this year, his league has been pretty decent as far as that. There was one coach who was, yelling across, like, to his pitcher, like, hey, this kid's afraid to swing. And the umpire called him out. He's like, hey, enough of that. So, and then the other team, first, I hate chants. And I don't know how you deal with softball with the stupid chants. So the team started chanting, and it was like derogatory towards individual players. And the referee called the coach over and was like, hey, no, next time you do that, you're gone. This is done. That stops now. And they knocked it off. It's funny, though, because when our kids start chanting, I'm like, boys, softball field's up the hill. You want to chant. This is about spitting seeds and spit and dip, which you can't do yet, but
Right.
eventually, yes. But, yeah, that's what this is. This isn't, we're not,
It's 14.
Homer, HOM. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I know all those chants.
And I
too.
hate.
Oh my god.
I was coaching t-ball. There was a softball game because it's right. I'm like, oh my god! And then I remember all those chants when I played softball. I was like, please don't teach the kids that. We're t-ball. This is about spitting seeds and spit and dip. So
there's one they go, like when a girl steals a base, they go, she stole on you. She stole on you. Oh, that's like borderline taunting.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, isn't that like over the line? I'm like looking over the coach. He's like, give me the thumbs up, like it's awesome. Like, is this normal? Like,
yeah.
I knew I'm new. I guess I'm new. I've been doing like my kid's been playing for 4 or 5 years. At this point, I'm like, is that kosher? Like, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
Apparently, it's all right.
But I hate the chants, and they say, oh, it's fun for the kids. No, it's annoying. Do they do it like high school players don't do it?
They do it in college. Oh, yes, they do.
Softball players do.
Yeah.
High school baseball players don't do it.
No, they don't do that.
So
I was going to say, softball in college, they should. Oh, I hear it on
no,
the TV.
I actually enjoy watching the softball college World Series, and I hear it. I'm like, will you girls stop? Like, who's this pumping up? This has to be annoying everybody. Because I'm like, I lean over the fence like Buck Showalter and spit seeds. What's your favorite part about that home run? Then I went over the fence. Like, there we go.
I think that should be a movement. Get rid of the softball chants. Although
Yeah.
I think I'm in the minority though, because I think
Who likes them?
I think the ladies like them.
Yeah, well,
I know the girls do. I think the moms like it a little bit. I mean, it's worse when they're younger because you got
it's high pitched.
Well, you got the high pitched and they're yelling. Like they're not singing, they're yelling, and of course you got like 3 girls doing one, 4 girls are doing a different one. It's like dueling songs at this point.
Yeah.
And it's just like screeching on the ears. At least when they're older, at least it's a song at that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm looking forward to that point because even at the 10U level, you got one girl who's doing it, who's trying to lead the chant.
Who's teaching them?
They go online, they go on YouTube, and they learn them. I swear, and then one learns it, and then she teaches the other 12. Like, and it spreads like a disease.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the dads.
Yeah. So, but we've been pretty lucky. Most of the kids have been decent. There was a kid that did the gritty off the mound.
Did he get hit the next at bat?
The next at bat was no, that was the bottom third of the lineup. So it was 3 up, 3 down. It was a great inning.
I mean, when he went to go bat, do you guys have it where you want to showboat? Here's one in your ear.
Well, I'll tell a story about that. So then he comes back out. So now the bottom 3 of the lineup's gone. What's he get next? The top half of the lineup, and then it goes. And I told the kids, I said, "Hey guys, be humble or be humbled." And of course they're 11. They're like, "Huh?" Like I'm getting all zen on them. But this kid comes up, and he's a nice kid, but he's just getting excited. But he comes up, and it's single, double, triple, yank. So it's like, that's why you don't do the gritty coming off the mound. You got to respect the game, dude. So that was amusing. Yeah. So, but it's been pretty decent. But there was something I was going to get into. I forget what it was. So
I just want to go back because I know people are probably judging me through the microphone about me saying that maybe the kid should get one in the ear. Hey, they got to learn. They got to learn this early.
So we had a kid. So it was weird. So, and I know the coach from the other team. The kid hits the ball, runs, but the ball goes foul as he's running. But when he's running, he throws the bat, and it hits our catcher. So, it's foul anyway, so come on back. And the umpire goes, "You're out, throwing the bat." Hit the catcher. The other coach comes over and is like, "Hey, can we get a warning?" And the umpire looks at him and goes, "Well, what do you think?" And he goes, "Well, I'd like a warning." He goes, "Okay, that's a warning." Puts it back up. The very next pitch, the pitcher nails him. And I'm like,
there's your real warning.
So our coach goes, "Can we get a warning on that?" So that was funny, but for the most part, it's been pretty fun. Not too much, aside from some of the kids and that one coach that was, like, as much as I hate chants, when you do chants, like, do it. You don't direct it at a player. You don't direct it at, and I'm sure, like in the major league, there are, different levels. Everyone's talking all kinds of smack, but you don't. It's not an organized thing where with children and an adult is behind it.
Right.
Like that to me is too much.
I mean, I will say with the softball, there's no adult behind it. It's just the kids.
Yeah.
The adults are just like, "Oh, it's cute." It's like, no,
it's annoying.
It's making my ears bleed.
But has anyone bought them like seeds to fill their mouths with seeds so they can't chant?
No. And
maybe do the girls chew seeds in the dugout?
I don't know. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. So we had an equipment issue. I guess seeds and equipment kind of go together because seeds should be mandatory equipment for all baseball and softball games. But for whatever reason, our baseball softball club decides to give like these little kids, and I don't know if it's the same for baseball, but for softball, they give us catcher's equipment that's like 3 times too big. I think
probably what it is, they probably buy. So they changed it this year. Now rather than each team getting issued catcher's gear, the catcher's gear is all in the deck or in the big job box behind. Yeah. So they're probably just putting what they think is kind of generally going to fit whoever back there.
So I think we had one for our team. So we didn't have it in the
And they're probably just buying baseball catcher's gear.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Oh, 10U." Well, not to say that all 10-year-old boys are taller than 10-year-old girls, but the little girls are going to be a lot smaller than the small,
They're also probably a little thicker too.
Yeah.
Like the boys are probably a little thicker build at this point than the girls,
except for mine's built like a string bean.
But the rest of them.
Yeah.
So one of the dads for this last playoff game. So we only got maybe max 2 games left at this point. But she's going to play in the summer. He bought his daughter a fresh set of gear. It's all white.
Is it now brown?
It does have a little bit of brown on it because of the dirt.
Yeah.
But man, it looks sharp. Because we've got dark red shirts and dark gray pants.
Yeah.
So the all white gear, so it's the white helmet, white chest protector, white shins. Mm-hmm. It looks pretty neat. It's pretty good look.
Is she a good catcher?
Yes.
We have a kid on our team he's awesome. And the thing is, a lot of no one coaches catchers.
Not at that age, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at 11, they're starting to like find what positions they like. Like mine likes to pitch. He likes playing third and short. He likes play, and he's a really good center fielder because he's fast. But the outfield isn't fun yet. It's starting to get a little fun because they're starting to hit balls out there. But at 10U, the level, it's not fun at all because
Yeah, I'm getting worried. So we decided to so there's 2 10U softball teams in our organization. So we basically put it out there and said, let's go try a tournament.
Uh-huh.
And essentially it's ended up being 7 girls from one team, 5 from another.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna take these girls to a tournament, but the issue for us is that in season play, in league play, they have the 5-run rule, except in the last inning.
Yeah.
But more a 5th inning. But we barely ever get to a 5th inning,
right? Because
you can't start an inning if a game starts at 6. You can't start an inning after 7:45.
Yeah.
Generally, if the home team has to bat in the bottom of the 4th, that inning doesn't really get past. It usually gets past 7:45, and you don't start the 5th. But in tournament play, there is no 5-run rule. Mm-hmm. And so we've never played with a no-run limit.
Yeah.
Now, there is a mercy rule after 4. So it's 12 runs after 4, 10 runs after 5, or 8 runs after 6.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, if you can't get off the field, they can just rack up runs.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to teach the catchers, and the 2 catchers we've got, they're really good at catching the ball. They're good at receiving it.
Yeah.
The problem is they haven't been taught how to block a ball in the dirt. So we're going to have to teach them how to slide on their knees, side to side. That's going to be the biggest issue, because here's the thing. If you don't, they can steal. Now, right now, in the rec play, in the league play, you can't steal home.
Okay.
Tournament play, that goes away.
Yeah.
So if the ball gets behind you, they can steal home.
Yeah, that's how baseball is for at 11U and 10U. They can steal home, which I have problems with all the stealing. And the reason is it's because the catchers can't, very few of these kids can reliably throw to second base. So you get to first base on a walk, and then you steal second, and then you steal third.
Yeah.
Is this baseball, or is it track?
Right.
Or you get to first base on the stupid drop third strike rule because none of these catchers know what they're doing, and the pitchers are all over the place. So, and it's I'm part of some coaches forums, and I get into arguments like, oh, well, those are the rules of baseball, and they got to learn sometime. Yeah, but then we wonder why all these kids are leaving, because none of these runs are being scored on balls batted. They're being scored on nonsense and fluky just BS. And then you wonder why they all quit to go play soccer and lacrosse. And it's because of stuff like this. Well, we can't alter the rules. It's for the purity of the game. Okay, what are you, the Vatican Council? We alter the rules for all kinds of sports for little kids. Ice hockey, when they're little, they play across the rink. Soccer, they use smaller nets. Basketball, they lower the rims. So they can still play the game, even though they're not as strong, they're not as fast, whatever it is. But baseball's like, oh, we have to have the drop third. Why?
Why should the rules be the same for a 10-year-old as they are for a 35-year-old man? Or a 25-year-old man?
Who's the best in the world.
Right.
I know
with softball, they have modifications.
Yeah. So to me, if we're going to modify... So at 10U, they're not allowed to steal. They're not allowed to lead. They can steal. They can take a secondary lead after the pitch is thrown. Mm-hmm. So they'll move off the bag, and then if it's a pass ball, they're stealing. So it's like, but again, I watched 5 runs get scored in an inning. Not one single ball came off a bat. I mean, this is nonsense. This isn't baseball. It's just load the bases up and steal.
Yeah. So one of the things the ladies taught the catchers on our team. So essentially, we'll give the team second base because it's a long throw.
Yeah.
Ball probably ends up in the outfield, and they're going to take third anyway.
Yeah. So and the thing is that the 11-year-old boys, few of them can make that throw, and I think the distances are similar in
60 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we do is we basically the decision was made. You're going to give them second, but the throw to third is easier.
Yeah.
So one of our catchers, actually probably more than one of them, because she receives the ball pretty well, unless it's on the ground or through whatever.
Yeah.
But if they try and steal third, she's pegged out 3 runners at third.
That's good.
Trying to steal third.
Yeah.
So basically every time there's a runner on second, she knows when she catches the ball, she's looking to third, and the third baseman knows she's got to go cover. Mm-hmm. Because if that girl goes, the ball's coming.
Yeah.
And it happened actually this last playoff game. They nailed the girl at third. Mm-hmm. And that ended up being the second out of the inning. And then the next out was our pitcher there's no mound, but came off the pitching rubber, fielded a ball down the third baseline, turned to first, threw it to first. The first baseman we had basically cross-stepped over the first baseline and caught a ball over her head. Like it was like a legit softball play.
Yeah.
I think at that point, the other team was out. They were done. Like, that killed them emotionally because that killed their rally.
Yeah.
That those 2 plays killed a rally for them. And it's amazing. So, like, basically, and they did that by just concentrating on one part of it. So it's like, look, throwing it to second, we're probably never going to get anyone out. But this throw to third's a lot easier. So let's concentrate on that. And they worked it. Like, it was almost like one entire practice. They worked that. For those 3 girls.
Yeah, it's one of the problems is they get so excited and they airmail it. And it just goes over. So, like, some of the kids can make the throw to second, but in order to do it, they have to bring it up real high. So that it takes longer. And then really when you're playing second base, when you're catching and you want to throw to second, you don't want to throw like you throw to a first baseman. You want to throw about a foot off the ground, if you're looking at it from home plate, to the right of the base, so that the ball gets there and the tag's easy to make. But they can't throw that accurately. Now we have one kid that has the arm strength, but sometimes like the second baseman doesn't catch it, and then the center fielder hasn't backed him up. So now it's like, I watched a game. The runner moves to steal second. They throw the ball to second base. Misses. The runner then from third is now coming home too. Like, they leave once it gets overthrown. Running home, rather than throwing it to third or just getting it back to second base and getting it to the pitcher, they try to throw home. Overthrow that. Now the runner from second is running to third. The catcher gets the ball, airmails it over the third baseman's head. Now that run, and I'm like, stop throwing the ball. Just stop. And it's just a comedy of errors. And it's like, guys, stop trying to do too much. All this extra stuff you're doing is just, like, it's, you tell your shortstop, like, you field that ball. If you don't field it clean and that kid is almost to first base, don't throw it. Like, because you're going to panic and then you miss. Now he's going to second. And then the first baseman panics, tries to throw it to second, misses. And now he's going to third. It's just, stop. So... But to get that in their heads, because it's to think, like, I got to do something. Sometimes the best thing to do is just cut your losses.
Yeah, but kids don't think that way.
And it's easy for me as the outsider sitting there keeping score to think that, because I'm seeing the whole thing.
Right.
They're only seeing what they're doing. I have the ball. This guy's going. I got to stop him. So now, my oldest got one. Catcher overthrows third base on a steal. Mine is playing left field. He backs up the third baseman, picks the ball up. The kid's now coming home. Third base coach sends him, and just with a cannon of an arm, guns this kid down back to the catcher, who tags him out. I was like, I shouldn't have done that. But every other coach would have sent him. No one's making that throw.
Right.
You
always run into the one kid that can play.
Yeah.
But you never know where he is.
Right. Or the kid that just has a fit of brilliance.
Right.
And it's like, they couldn't repeat that feat again. But they did it that one time, so.
Yeah, it with softball, it's a little bit different just because once they get the ball back to the pitcher and they're in that circle, once the girl gets to that base, she's there. She can't go on.
Yeah.
So it's actually one of the things they teach the girls, where like you'll hear a lot of the coaches just screaming, "Get it to the pitcher! Get it to the pitcher!" Because once it gets there, they can't keep going. I mean, they get to go. They get to the base they're on their way to.
Yeah.
But you stop the waterfall, the cascade effect of it all.
Yeah.
It's the old live to play another day mentality.
Yeah.
Or the teams, what they do is they plan on, well, this is where we're going to get her outs. So, for example, like, because we knew our catcher could throw to third, they said, okay, we're going to work with her to throw girls out of third. We'll give them second because it's not worth the throw down. Chances of getting it down there in time are slim to none. But then if it goes in the center field, she's going to third.
Yep.
And if we know that we have a shot to get them out at third, we don't want to give them third.
Yeah.
Let them think that they can get it, and then we'll take it from them. Mm-hmm. Because some of these teams, they'll go no matter what.
Yeah.
And because it's very rare in 10U softball to have a girl catcher that can catch a ball clean. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, even balls that hit them in the glove
or dropped
or being dropped.
And it's the same thing with in baseball, like, and they're still rotating kids through the positions.
Mm-hmm. And we still do that too.
So they get, and it's like they throw the ball, pitcher throws the ball, and and even the catchers wearing a different glove. So some of the kids hate it, and they wear their regular glove, and then some of the kids throw too hard for that regular glove. So now they got to wear the catcher's mitt, and it's a weird feeling. And catching's a neat thing. Like receiving the ball is.
I used to love it.
Yeah,
I was a catcher growing up, up to 13 Babe Ruth.
And when I watch catchers and all these, YouTube's great. You just get all kinds of videos and stuff about it. So, to have a kid that can catch, I mean, if you have a couple pitchers and a kid that can catch, I don't need any other players.
Right.
We'll make the rest happen.
Yep.
We might win 1-0, but because so many errors are just caused. And the other thing is, like, you'll see the kids get a hit and they'll run it like little league home run, and they're all happy. Oh, this is home run! And my wife says to me, "That wasn't a home run. That was like a single in 6 errors."
Yes, right.
Actually, right. The single that's probably an error too. But we'll give them the single.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting at this level. I got a feeling though, like, so next year my oldest goes up to 12U.
Okay.
And I saw glimpses of other 12U games. It's legit softball at that point. It's not the comedy of errors.
Yeah.
That can be 8 and 10U.
Well, I'll tell you, like, because my oldest moved up to 12U for baseball, and it's actually baseball. Yeah. Like and I went to see. So I had him at the cage, at Broadneck Park, and then there was a 10U game going on. So after we were done with that, we just stayed and watched. And I knew the coach I knew both coaches of both teams. So we're just watching the game. I'm like, this is completely different. Like, because some of these 12U kids, like puberty's hit. They're like men. Like, they're big,
yeah.
And seeing the 10U kids, the youngest ones are in 3rd grade. And, the pitchers are all over the place. No one can really field the hitting. Some of the kids can really hit. Some can't hit at all. A lot of walks. So the 12U, like, when they're like fielding the ball clean at short or third, and then making that throw to first, and it's a typically that's a bang bang play. That's an out every time. Mm-hmm. And then to see that, like, oh, that's cool. So, like, the T-ball kids, I tell the parents, I said, eventually it will look like baseball.
Right.
Eventually it will be baseball, but it's going to take like 5 years.
Yeah. This is going to be our first year doing a tournament. And I'll be interested to see how it goes. Just because I've never done one before. And like I said, with the run rule being gone, I mean, we softball, the pitching is always going to be an issue. Now, mostly because the hitters are generally much better in the tournaments. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong, we have all of the girls that we have can hit. So it's like, I know what we're going to see when we're there. Mm-hmm. The thing is, like, our best pitchers are girls that get the ball over the plate.
Yeah.
But they don't really have any speed on it. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of throwing meatballs up at them.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying that's a bad thing in rec ball. But when we get to the tournaments and we're kind of throwing some meatballs in there with girls that can hit, mm-hmm. This is when the outfield play kind of comes into play.
Yeah.
Now, at 10U rec, the outfielders barely see anything. No. And when they are seeing it, it's rolling out to them. Mm-hmm. If some of these girls are hitting fly balls out there or line drives at their face,
yeah,
it's like, Okay, so like when we're gonna hold 4 practices in a row. So basically, it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll play the tournament on Saturday, Sunday,
Okay.
and essentially, I told all the girls, I said, we're gonna pick 2 positions for each of you, and you're gonna learn how to play them.
Yeah.
And I was like, and generally, second base and shortstop are gonna be tied together
Okay.
because you're gonna have to learn them both anyway.
Yeah.
The problem is your second baseman generally can't make the throw from shortstop. So I might have to mix that up a little bit. And, like, look, if you play shortstop, you can play second base. If you play second base, you might be in, like, right field, too.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, so I've only got 5 pitchers for 3 games. I got 3 catchers in the middle of summer heat.
Yeah.
So my idea is to play the catchers 3 innings apiece because I think they're 6-inning games. 3 innings and then you sit for 3.
Yeah.
The game, and because there's 3 of them, the game that they're not catching, I'll play them in the field.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to need 1 catcher on the bench to warm up the next pitcher because I can only do the pitchers 2 innings at a time.
Is there a dad or a mom that would warm the pitchers up?
I can probably work that in too.
I used to do that. So, like last year, for my oldest last year, 10U, what we would do is we'd have to build a rotation. And it was easy. I would just type it up and print it and put it on the fence of the dugout so all the kids could see it. And we try to schedule the pitchers. Every now and then you have to pull one out, but usually just let them finish the inning. So what I do is the kid that was going to pitch the next inning, so if he's going to pitch in the 3rd, he'd sit the 2nd.
Yeah.
And I take that kid out and I warm him up. And we just start with just, some just regular throws and eventually move to pitching. The fields you're on, unfortunately, didn't have a mound off the field.
Right.
So some of them do. We did tournaments last year. Don't be surprised if you find a team that's really a travel team.
Right.
That they've entered into the tournament just to whip up on rec teams.
Well, here's the thing. They can't.
Okay.
So
which one are you doing?
So we're doing what they call Rec All-Stars.
Okay.
Under USSSA, which is United States something, whatever.
Yeah.
So they have Class A, B, C, and Rec All-Stars. So Rec All-Stars is like Class D.
Okay.
If a kid played a season on a Class C team, they cannot play on a team, even as a guest player for Rec All-Stars.
Okay.
Because we were trying to see if a girl, she missed the cutoff for the spring season to play club ball. Mm-hmm. So she went and played for a travel team for the season. Well, she wanted to come back and play with her friends on this travel team, and then she's going to play rec ball in the fall. Mm-hmm. Well, because the season for by USSA standards doesn't end until August 14th. So, like, if we would have played the tournament August 15th, her calendar year resets, so she wouldn't have been on any team.
Okay.
And she could have played with us, but because it's still within the league year, she can't play with us because she played on a Class C team.
Okay.
So they can't. They make sure that the Rec All-Star teams are playing against other Rec All-Star teams,
right,
and that none of the girls have played on a travel Class C team. So definitely not Class A or B.
Yeah.
So they do try and do that. And from the teams I've seen, they're local teams for the most part. There's like one team from like Wilmington, Delaware too. But
okay.
I mean, but they should all be rec players. They should not be. Now, Class B, A, and C, I think those players can move up and down, but I'm not sure.
So we played a tournament last year. It was up in Ellicott City. It was in, I think it's like Ellicott City American Legion Park. It's awesome. There's like 15 ball fields there. It's cool. So we play this team. I mean, they come out. They've got walk-up music. They've got people announcing their names. Their uniforms are like embroidered. And I'm looking, and they're all big. I'm like, what is the deal with this? And so we're like, oh, this is a travel team. So someone overheard us who was from the, like, oh, no, this is a travel team. No, this is a rec team. Okay, what? The double A for, the Bowie Bay Sox? Is that where these, rec? No, well, so in our count, like, we've got, there's rec leagues, so then it's the all-star teams for the rec leagues, and then each one sent their player to make this team because we had too many players. I'm like, oh, so it's like the all-star team of the all-stars.
Right.
So it's a travel team.
Yeah.
And, the guy huffed and, dude, it's a travel team. So they destroyed us. They destroyed the next team. And I wonder, like, does that make you feel good? Like, is it worth it to go and assemble some team? Like, why don't, I'll get all my buddies that play baseball, and I'll say that they're 10 years old or 11, and we'll go whip up on little kids. Like, does it make you feel good to do this? Like, I don't understand the men's. Like, don't you want to play at a higher level rather than going and beating kids down? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, if they identify as a 10U player.
Well, I identify as a 10U player, so they're going to be shocked when I step up to the plate.
It'd be very, like, your scenario would be very similar. Is that if you took an all-star team from the four all-stars from the Broadneck 4 teams, and then 4 more all-stars from Severna Park, 4 more from Pasadena.
Yeah.
And that was going to be your 12-person team right there. You basically took the best 4 players from 4 different associations.
Yeah.
Even though they all still played in the same league.
Yeah.
Well, if our club played in that league. But
yeah.
But it would be like if we did that.
Yeah.
Like you're basically cherry picking 4 players from each organization.
Right. So you have So you have like this club's all-star team, or tournament team. So then that's like the Anne Arundel County all-star team.
Right.
Which is a lot. Oh, let's now take the players from from every county. We'll take the best player from every county. Oh, so now we have the state of Maryland all-star team.
Basically. Yeah.
Come on. And any one of those players can make any travel team they wanted to. It's a travel team.
And we're going to put them in the lowest division possible.
Yeah. And then celebrate when we win our trophy.
Right.
And to me, there are parts of the country where it's that important. And it's funny because on some of these coaching forums, these guys will come up with these questions like, yeah, I'm a coach of the 6U select team, and I'm wondering how to build my batting order. And, I've got this player that, his on-base percentage is, they're 6.
Right.
And a lot of this, it's all Southern. It's heat.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. This is the on base. My youngest is awesome. He gets on base. His batting average is sick. He bats 1,000 for 2 seasons in a row.
Right.
In T-ball.
I can't be playing him in the rec league anymore. He's just too good for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's 6, dude.
So
no one earned a scholarship at 10U.
Right.
Sorry, or 12U. No kid has earned a scholarship then. Sorry. Yeah. Especially for softball might be a little bit different because I always say this about women's sports. I feel like because a lot less girls play women's sports, there's a lot more opportunity for girls to earn college scholarships.
Well, yeah. Well, so Title IX makes it so that there's as many scholarships for...
Right, but the player pool is a lot fewer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why, and then you have football.
Right.
A Division I football team is carrying 100 players.
Yeah, I think it's 75 scholarships.
Yeah.
And so some of those kids are in half. Some are they call them preferred walk-ons.
Yeah.
Which means they're guaranteed a spot, but they have to pay their own way the first year.
Yeah.
Or as a redshirt year or whatever it is. And then year 2, they get the scholarship and so on. Yeah.
And then they have... So then you have to make that up somewhere. So that's how field hockey got so big. Everywhere else in the world, field hockey is played by men.
Yeah.
Except in the U.S., in India, field hockey, I think field hockey is an Olympic sport for men.
It is.
And then in India, it's huge. It's up there with cricket.
Yep.
But here, it's girls play it.
Yep. Because
they needed something to counteract the football scholarships. Because every other sport, has except for I guess there's men's gymnastics. But
there's very few men in it.
Yeah.
It's women outnumber men in that.
Yeah. And the sports are completely different. Mm-hmm. When you see but so you had to counteract that somehow. But yeah, there's more opportunity there for the percentage is higher.
Yeah. But still, even for women's sports, there's no girls getting a scholarship at 10 or 12U.
No.
It's just not happening.
Yeah.
But these they take it so seriously. And their thinking is if I push my kid to be the best now at 6U, by the time he hits 8 to 10U, he's going to be even better than the next kid. And by the time he gets to 12U, now instead of learning some certain things, he's honing skills. Like, I get it. You're trying to give your kid a leg up.
Yeah.
But these kids, they soak up information so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you thought you taught him to give him an advantage before 12U, that gap is closed by 14U.
Yeah. And then there's the big equalizer where they all hit puberty.
Right.
And like the big strong kid all of a sudden becomes the big fat kid.
Yep.
And then the string bean becomes the 6'5" monster.
Yep.
And you don't know. And then they have to adjust to those new bodies that they got over the last year. Mm-hmm. So it's the great. And then you have kids that just, but I've never pushed travel on my kids because I don't want them to burn out.
Right.
So they all play different sports. Now my one does do travel in one sport, but he's good. But it's swimming, so it's good for him. It's good exercise. So, it's one of those things where I'm not going to push it on the kids. If they want to go and play, like, if I never say, hey, you go outside and hit your bucket of balls. If they ask, hey, Dad, can you set up the power net so I can hit some balls? Sure. The only rule is if you start hitting the bucket, you have to finish hitting the bucket. Mm-hmm. And you have to pick everything up. No stopping midway. You have to finish what you started. And I'm not setting the power net up for you to go play with it for 2 minutes.
Right.
But it's never like, oh, hey, dude, today's your bullpen day. I've read that on these forums, like, so my 8U player, like, I'm trying to figure out his rest schedule, so it's pitch, it's game day pitch, rest, long toss, bullpen day, start. I'm like, what? Like, what do you...
Stop living through your kid.
Yeah. And I think a lot of dads are thinking, man, if I had just done a little bit more, maybe I could have made it. No, you wouldn't have made it. Like,
yeah.
It's... So they push that on their kids, and then I think their kids like it too, but then they burn out. Yeah. And I don't want the kids to hate the sport and hate me.
Well, no, and the funny thing is the kids look at it as they get to spend time with their dad.
Yeah.
The dad sees it as, I'm going to turn my kid into a pro.
Yeah.
It was funny, like when we were talking about this tournament team thing at 10U, I talked with my wife about it and some of the other parents, and we had never done a travel ball or tournament team. We said, let's just do one. Where the girl, because the two teams, the girls know each other. They go to school together.
Yeah.
So it's not, so like they all go either one school or another, or they've played together in the past. Like, but during the season, you can only have 14 on a team, so you split them in half.
Yeah.
But they're still friends. So basically the way they saw this was we presented it like, we know you didn't get to play with your friends during the season. Mm-hmm. So why don't we do a tournament? Because our season ends in early June too.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why don't we get one more in? Let's get a little bit more softball in. We'll do one tournament. We'll make it a fun weekend. We'll barbecue. We'll take the RV up there. Jack's down in the parking lot.
Yeah.
TV, cornhole, barbecue, or whatever, or the grill. And after the first game, or after the last game, depending on what our schedule looks like, we'll just hang out.
Yeah.
And you girls get to hang out with your friends and play some softball, and we all get to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And see if we even want to do this again.
Yep.
Who knows? We might just want to stick in rec ball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but so for us, this was more of the experiment. The girls get some cool jerseys because we're going to get them some new jerseys. Mm-hmm. But they get to play with their friends. But the other thing is, like, we also didn't want to get our trying to think of a polite way to say this, but we didn't want to get our shit kicked in.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to do the 4 practices in a row and specialize the girls a little bit to a certain position. Because a lot of these girls are going to move to 12U and they're going to have to pick a position anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to have certain pitchers pitch. Catchers are going to catch. The girl who is basically a Hoover with the glove is going to play first. The girl with the best arm is going to play short.
Yeah. Short of third, yeah.
Yeah, and some of these girls are going to have to learn how to play outfield because it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because, I really don't care if they catch the ball in the air. My thing is get to the ball, throw it in.
Yeah, keep it in front of you.
Because the play stops when we get the ball to the pitcher.
Yep.
So if the quicker you can get it in, we can turn triples into doubles, singles and doubles into singles. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing.
You know a great way to teach your outfielders?
What?
It's a track. That's one of the hardest things is tracking.
I could never do it.
So, like, initially, like, they stand there. The ball comes up, they stand there. The second they hear the crack, 1 to 3 steps backwards. So if it is going over them, they can start turn and sprint. Mm-hmm. So they almost have to think of themselves as like a defensive back in football. Back pedal, back pedal, back pedal. When the player gets to a certain point, you pivot, and then now you're running with him. But I picked this up at a Cal Ripken Senior Foundation camp I went to, mm-hmm. or event that I went to, and they're using a football. They can't figure it out with a baseball. They can't. And these kids were beginners, had never played baseball. It's a charity thing, so they come out of the Baltimore City, like disadvantaged neighborhoods, and they go up to Aberdeen and play. So, but they can't figure out with the baseball because it kind of just looks like a dot.
Right.
Make it a football. Now all of a sudden these kids are like, oh, I can do this. Sprinting and then getting under it. Just get under it or keep the ball in front of you. Don't let it get behind you. Because once it's behind you, now you got to turn. But if they just stand there, but it does two things. Number one, it stops them from running with their hand in the air. Running backwards with your hand in the air is a really slow way to run.
Right.
Bring the glove down, and then turn and run forwards. If you don't catch, the ball drops, well, at least you're not turning around and now having to go from a dead stop to sprint to get to it while it's rolling towards the fence.
Right.
It's in front of you. You can feel it like a grounder. So,
Yeah, we're going to have some work to do with that. But at the very least, it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
And the girls get a cool jersey out of it.
It's cool to go somewhere else and play against different teams and,
so we kind of do that anyway.
Yeah.
I know you guys don't. You guys play all.
Well, we do it in fall.
Okay.
In fall, it's in the county league, which I love. Fall, you get to go to, but the tournament's like, there's, usually a nice snack bar or something going, and some places have like bouncy things set up for the little kids, and but it's a fun. It's almost like when for these teams, like I don't really care like how good the kids are, as long as the parents are cool.
I'm the same.
Because I don't want to hang out with a bunch of dorks.
Right.
The people who don't want to have fun and joke and laugh around. Like, who wants to be with those guys? Like, I don't want to be with 11 travel ball dads.
Right.
Like taking it serious. Like, sometimes fun to have one of those guys, so everyone else can kind of make fun of them.
Right. Damn, Jerry.
Yeah. Like, you probably chill out a little bit there, buddy.
Right. Yeah. Luckily, I mean, as far as I know, we got a good group of parents, mm-hmm. and the girls are very respectful. In fact, I think I got to go a little bit in the other direction. I don't know how tough to come at them a little bit. You want to teach athletes, especially now, before they go up to 10U. Like, I'm trying to convince the girls that the girl on the other team is not your friend.
Yeah.
When you're on the field. You want to destroy them.
Yeah.
Step on their neck and just push them into submission.
Yeah.
When the game's over, give them a handshake and a hug. You can talk to them about the especially if it's a friend. If it's an actual friend, you talk to them about whatever's going on. But for that 2 hours, it's your jersey color versus theirs.
They're your enemy.
Yes.
But I had the same conversation with my middle son. I was like, dude, get aggressive. Like, you're a big, strong kid. Well, I don't want to hurt other. Dude, that kid's standing in the base path. He shouldn't be there. His coach should tell him not to be there.
Yeah.
Like it's. And I told him, like, when I played football, like, I hated the other team. I hated them. And that was how I approached after the game. Dap each other up, and then you knew some of the kids from wherever. And when I played hockey, it was the same. But we all knew because everyone had played camps together and this and that. It's all over the place. But you hated them. So sometimes they don't get that.
I remember, like, I used to, like, I couldn't, like, I didn't like the player. I didn't like their fans. I didn't like their school. Like, it was a switch you turned on.
Yeah.
And then when the game was over, you turned it off.
Yeah.
And you were nice as could be.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, I can't stand anything about you.
Yeah.
When the lights are on.
Yeah. I hate your face.
Yeah, right. Right. But it's that competitive edge. Now, here's the thing. It's 10U. I'm not trying to turn them into monsters.
Yeah.
But
just feed them nothing but raw steak.
Right. But
don't feed them anything.
Right. But at this
just
point,
a blood-soaked jersey of the other team.
At this point, though, they haven't gotten any of it.
Yeah.
It's unicorns and rainbows. Right.
Well, and so much of it is this everyone be kind and I love, like, don't bully I love all that stuff, but at some point you gotta, like, there's room in the world, like, you know, sometimes you have to choose violence.
Right.
You know what
right.
I mean? Like, he chose violence and made the correct choice.
Yeah. That's what I was proud of my daughter when she hit that triple off that girl that was dancing around.
Yeah.
Like she stepped up to that plate, and like I looked in her eyes, like she looked over. Mm-hmm. I was like, I ain't saying shit.
Yeah.
She already had it. Like whatever, she was already mad.
Yeah.
At something. I don't know what it was, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
And then she smacked the shit out of the ball, and I was yelling as loud as I could.
Yeah.
But like you can, like sometimes you can tell, like you can look, at least in my kid, like I can look at my kid's eyes and I'm like, I don't need to say shit.
Yeah.
She's ready.
Yeah.
Like, this is she's about to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let it happen. Like I'm going to let her punch her in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, but at this point though, like 10U is such an odd year, and where you're not supposed to, as a coach, you're not supposed to teach that.
Yeah.
It's unicorns and rainbows. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, but now we're between our 10U and 12U year.
Yeah.
Now it's time to stop some shit.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, hopefully the parents that are, I mean, I'm preaching fun, but I'm also going to be like, okay, girls, it's about to get real. Because if you aren't willing to step on their throat, mm-hmm. they're going to score 20 on you, and you're going to get 3 innings a game.
Yeah.
So and we're going to go home.
Yeah.
And getting your shit kicked in is not fun. Like I don't care if we lose. Like if we
it's
lose,
even less fun when you got an hour drive home.
Right. Like if we lose, fine.
Yeah.
But when you lose like 20-1,
it's just not. Yeah.
You hate playing the game after that.
You just want it to end.
Yeah. Exactly. You're rather than being excited to come back the next day, you just want to forfeit.
Yeah.
And that's never any good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it is no fun when you're just getting stomped, you know. And then you look up at the clock. Well, baseball or softball, there's no clock, but you're like, you know, can we just strike out? Like I'm just swinging everything so we can leave.
Yeah.
You know, so that's definitely not. No one wants to do that. So.
Yeah. Well, if any of you out there. If you have a similar experience with your kids playing rec ball, travel ball, you got travel ball dad or super sensitive dad throwing his arms around, flailing around like a chump, let us know in the comments. Thank you to Cheers and Spirits for sponsoring this episode. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Follow us on all the podcast platforms, and we will see you next time.